Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is John Conlin. I'm going over different kinds of wine quality. This is for IE 6318 with Dr. Wang. For background, we're going to talk about why wine quality is important, what kind of models I ran, and conclusion and the sources cited at the end. To start off, apparently, wine is a very good investment. Lots of very rich and wealthy people buy wine and sell it for later, and generally for profit at a very high return. And companies spend a lot of money to make sure that they have good quality wine to sell. And regular people like us want good wine that smells nice and can age well. Because if you drink sour wine, you will get very sick. And technology has certainly come a long way in the wine creation. As you know, wine's probably been around since the start of civilization. Huh. And good wine will let that company be more well known and get more partnerships and more money. So, time to talk about some potential issues that wine quality could cause. Some of the identified problems, inconsistent wine quality. It's really hard to mass produce uh, wine that is exactly the same. And as you know, in traditional industrial engineering, processes that are different are generally bad. Um, Wine is not rated on an objective scale. That's why there's a lot of wine critics that taste wine and make a living that way. And there's a lot of people that like to purchase wine. Generally, younger or less financially well off people will buy the wine that's either the cheapest or has the most alcohol content, while richer or I don't know, more affluent people will buy wine that they can potentially sell or more expensive wine. And it's really hard for companies to distinguish themselves. I challenge you to name a single winery that you can name. And most people don't go into shopping like that. And so these are some. Oh man, I need to forgot to remove that, but that's linked here. Some of the solutions. The first one is what I'm going to do today, which is see how different kinds of attributes affect the quality of the wine. Creating a objective rating system would also be very good to objectively say, hey, this wine is better than this wine. That's probably never going to happen because companies would probably pay people off to say their wine is better when marketing. The third one could be a future project idea where we also collect different variables such as cost of wine, cost of production, and I guess what consumers are more likely to purchase. And as always, wineries are going to have to keep investing in new technologies. This is our data set. There's 14 variables. Two of them are classifiers, so they're not really used in this data set or analysis. So we have fixed acidity, volatile acidity, citric acid, residual sugar, chlorides, free sulfur dioxide, total sulfur dioxide, density, pH, sulfates, alcohol, quality, pass or fail, and ID. Pass and fail and ID are not really useful for this, but the rest of them are. And basic data analysis, we have the count, mean, standard deviation, minimum, and the 25, 15, 75% quartile and the max. And that's for all the variables. And as seen here, most wine quality receive a score of 5 or 6, with very bad wines getting 3, and I assume very good wines getting 8. So we ran 4 different coding solutions. The correlation matrix shows how different objects relate to each other. The linear regression of one y to a bunch of x's, and the decision tree as well, along with a k nearest neighbors. And decision trees look very nice, and the k nearest neighbors will need a confusion matrix to validate it as well. To start off with a correlation matrix, as seen here, there's not a lot of very strong relationships. A lot of these are very close to 0 or 0.2, which is not ideal. We generally want to see very high or very low causes of relationships. Some of the reasons for this are quite obvious, such as a higher, fixed acidity and citric acid, definitely related to each other. And some cause each other and some do not cause each other. There's a very high relationship between pH and fixed acidity because acidity is on the pH scale. I assume it's, yeah. And then the most important column is the quality. So you can see which variables affect quality. So alcohol and sulfates positively and citric acid positively affect quality, while volatile acidity may not be the best. The first model we ran was the linear regression model. We have a mean square error of 0.38, mean absolute error 0.477, and a root mean square of 0.616. And basically, the lower the errors, the better, and the higher the R square, the better. The MSE is good, but unfortunately, the other two errors are a bit high, and the R square is not really that good either. For the decision tree, it picks the best model out of different combinations. As you see, there are quite a few. The mean square error is quite high, but the mean absolute error is 0.424, which is lower than the linear regression. Unfortunately, the R squared is practically non-existent. And the KNN here, the mean square error is 0.62, the mean absolute error is 0.515, and the root mean square error is 0.787, with the R square being negative, which is not too good. And as seen there's our confusion matrix we ran. Could be better. And for our closing discussion, the linear regression is by far the best model, although the decision tree seems to be useful as well because it got decent squares of error. However, the linear regression is definitely the best since you're measuring wine quality. The KNN may not be the best model for this wine classification, wine quality classification. As mentioned previously, there's not a lot of relationships present in the correlation matrix, which led to low R squares and poor model performance overall. The obvious relationships, acidity, pH, and alcohol are scientifically proven that they relate to each other. Pretty obvious on that. And then companies should focus on improving alcohol and sulfates and getting rid of acidity to sell more wine to different kinds of customers. And probably more important from a business area, the data set should have also included different kinds of costs, as most purchasers are concerned with that. Thank you for listening. Here are my citations. Hope you have a great evening.